Welcome to this explosive edition of entertainment news where the worlds of soulful dividum and pop powerhouse collide in the most unexpected way imaginable. Picture this, the bustling studio lights of the Kelly Clarkson Show, a haven for heartfelt conversations, musical magic, and those feel-good moments that leave audiences humming long after the credits roll. Today, we're diving deep into the shocking incident that's got social media ablaze and headlines screaming from every corner of the internet. That's right, we're talking about the moment when the undisputed godmother of soul, the one and only Patti LaBelle, stormed off the set in a whirlwind of emotion following what can only be described as a heated dispute with none other than the effervescent host herself, Kelly Clarkson. It was a clash that no one saw coming, a perfect storm of passion, pride, and perhaps a dash of misunderstanding that turned a routine interview into a spectacle worthy of its own ballad. As we unpack this drama, let's rewind the clock just a bit to set the stage for what unfolded on that fateful afternoon in the heart of Los Angeles, where the air was thick with anticipation and the scent of fresh-baked pies. Patti's signature touch, no doubt. The Kelly Clarkson Show has always been more than just a talk show. It's a celebration of resilience, talent, and unfiltered joy, drawing in guests from all walks of life to share their stories under Kelly's warm, inviting gaze. Kelly, the former American Idol champion turned talk show titan, has built her empire on authenticity, belting out covers in her Kellyoke segment that make even the most jaded viewers crack a smile, and fostering connections that feel like chatting with an old friend over coffee. Her show isn't about polished perfection, it's raw, real, and relentlessly positive. Which is why when Patti LaBelle, at 81 years young, graced the stage, it promised to be a symphony of sisterhood in the spotlight. Patti, with her voice like velvet thunder and a career spanning over 6 decades, isn't just a singer, she's an icon, a trailblazer who rose from the gospel choirs of Philadelphia to international stardom with hits like Lady Marmalade and If Only You Knew, earning her Grammy Gold and a permanent place in the pantheon of music legends. Her presence alone elevates any room, let alone a daytime TV set, where her larger-than-life personality and no-nonsense attitude have become the stuff of legend. Fans tuned in expecting laughs, perhaps a duet that would shatter vocal cords, and tales from Patti's storied past, including her ventures into acting on shows like American Horror Story and her best-selling cookbooks that have fans whipping up sweet potato pies in her honor. But what started as a harmonious harmony quickly spiraled into discord, leaving viewers stunned and scrambling for replays. The build-up to this blow-up was subtle at first, masked by the usual pre-show pleasantries and the electric buzz of a live audience ready to erupt in applause. Backstage, whispers of excitement filled the corridors as crew members hustled to perfect the lighting on Patti's glittering gown, a custom number that hugged her curves like a second skin, embroidered with sequins that caught every ray like stars in the Philly night sky. Kelly, ever the gracious host, had prepared meticulously, poring over Patti's discography late into the night, selecting clips from her Bluebells days to her solo triumphs, even queuing up a surprise Kellyoke of new attitude to kick things off with high energy. The two women, both powerhouses in their own rights, shared a mutual admiration that had been evident in past encounters. Kelly had covered Patti's songs with reverence, and Patti had publicly praised Kelly's spirit as sweet like honey. It seemed like the perfect pairing, two vocal volcanoes ready to erupt in unison rather than opposition. As the cameras rolled, the audience's cheers were deafening, a sea of waving signs proclaiming "We love Patti." And Kelly's got soul. The theme music swelled. Kelly bounded onto the stage in her signature casual chica flowy blouse paired with jeans that screamed approachable yet aspirational, and introduced her guest with a kind of enthusiasm that could melt ice caps. Please welcome the queen, the legend, the woman who taught us all how to belt from the soul, Patti LaBelle. The crowd lost it, standing ovations rippling through the studio like waves on Lake Michigan, and Patti, resplendent in her finery, sashayed out with that trademark sway, her smile wide enough to light up a Broadway. Hugs were exchanged, genuine and warm, the kind that speak volumes about respect earned over years of watching each other shine from afar. They settled into the plush interview chairs, microphones poised like eager suitors, and for the first few minutes, it was pure gold. Patti regaling tales of her early days dodging stage mishaps, like the time a fan mooned her mid-performance, only for her to quip back with a fierce "honey, I've seen better moons in my kitchen." Kelly laughed till tears streamed, her Texas twang cutting through the giggles as she shared her own idol war stories, the nerves that turned to nectar under pressure. It was the kind of banter that bonds, that builds bridges between generations of artists who've weathered the industry's tempests. But beneath the surface, like a rumble before the earthquake, tensions simmered, waiting for that one fault line to crack wide open and unleash the fury that would change the course of this episode forever. As the conversation flowed like fine wine, delving into the nitty-gritty of vocal longevity and the secrets to staying fierce after 50, Patti swearing by hot water with lemon, Kelly confessing to vocal coaches who doubled as therapists, so the air began to thicken with unspoken undercurrents. Little did the audience know, this was the calm before the tempest, the prelude to a dispute that would etch itself into talk show lore, proving once again that even icons have their breaking points. And oh, what a break it would be. Now, let's zoom in on that pivotal pivot, the exact moment when the harmony hit a sour note and the studio's vibe shifted from celebratory to charged in the blink of an eye. It all ignited during a seemingly innocuous segment on artistic integrity, where Kelly, with her trademark curiosity, leaned forward and posed a question about Patti's unyielding commitment to her craft, specifically circling back to a long-standing rumor from Patti's 2014 book tour where she'd allegedly clashed with a producer over creative control on a remix of On My Own. Kelly, ever the empathetic interviewer, framed it gently. "Patti, you've always been so fierce about owning your voice, literally and figuratively. I remember reading about the time you walked away from a project because it didn't feel authentic. What keeps that fire burning for you, even when the suits start meddling?" The audience nodded along, sipping their complimentary lattes, expecting a fiery but fun anecdote that would underscore Patti's legendary status as the diva who doesn't bend. Patti paused, her manicured fingers tapping rhythmically on the armrest, a subtle tell that those in the know recognized as her gathering storm clouds. She launched into her response with the eloquence of a woman who's penned memoirs and commanded stages from Carnegie Hall to the Super Bowl halftime, not with anger, but with a measured intensity that commanded silence. "Kelly, darling, it's simple. I don't sing for the money or the applause. I sing because God gave me this gift, and no boardroom hack is gonna water it down with auto-tune or beats that sound like they're from a factory farm. That remix, it was trashy, soulless, stripped of the pain and power that made it mine. I walked because sometimes walking is the only way to stand tall." The crowd murmured in agreement, a few whoops echoing for solidarity, and Kelly beamed, ready to pivot to praise. But here's where the wires crossed. In her enthusiasm, Kelly interjected with what she meant as a bridge to commonality, drawing from her own idol experiences. "Oh, absolutely, I get that. Remember when I had to fight producers on The Voice to keep a contestant's raw edge? But sometimes, compromising a tad can open doors, like how I tweaked since you've been gone for radio." And boom, it exploded. Don't you think a little flex can amplify the legacy? What Kelly saw as shared wisdom landed like a lead balloon in Patti's court. To the uninitiated, it might have seemed like light debate, but to Patti, a woman who'd clawed her way through segregation erators and label battles that would have broken lesser souls, it smacked of dilution, of suggesting that the purity she'd guarded like a family heirloom could be bartered for broader appeal. Her eyes narrowed just a fraction, that signature LaBelle glare igniting like embers in a bonfire. "Compromise? Honey, that's code for selling out. I've been amplifying legacies since you were in diapers. And I didn't do it by bending over for trends. Flex? The only thing I flex is my right to say no when it stinks." The studio tittered nervously, unsure if this was playful sparring or the prelude to pandemonium. Kelly, sensing the shift but chalking it up to generational spice, pressed on with a laugh that aimed to diffuse. "Fair point, queen. But hey, in my world, a remix here or there keeps the young guns discovering you. It's evolution, not erosion." Oh, the fatal word, evolution. To Patti, who'd survived the death of bandmates, cancer scares, and critics who called her voice too much, it echoed like an accusation of obsolescence, a subtle dig at her age or relevance in a TikTok-driven era. The temperature plummeted, the audience's cheers fading to hushed anticipation as Patti's posture straightened, her voice dropping to that husky timbre that precedes a LaBelle lecture. She leaned in, jewels glinting like warning lights. Evolution, child. I've evolved from girl groups to Grammys without chasing likes or algorithms. You young folks remix everything: songs, lives, even hysteria, but some of us built the foundation you're dancing on. Don't lecture me on amplifying when I've been the amplifier all along. Kelly's smile faltered for a split second, her quick wit scrambling to recover. Whoa, I didn't mean it like that. You're timeless, Patti. I just meant collaboration can. But Patti cut her off, rising slowly from her seat like a phoenix pre-flame, her presence expanding to fill the frame. Timeless? That's patronizing sugarcoating. If you want to talk real amplification, ask about the doors I kicked open for voices like yours. But if this is how we're evolving the conversation, I'm out. I've got pies to bake that taste more authentic than this chat. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones whipped out to capture the crackle of tension that now electrified the air like a storm over the Rockies. Crew members exchanged wide-eyed glances from behind the cameras, the director's hand hovering over the commercial break button, but it was too late. The dispute had detonated, and the fallout was just beginning to sprinkle its debris across the stage. In that charged silence, broken only by a distant cough from the balcony, the weight of unspoken histories hung heavy. Patti's battles against a male-dominated industry that tokenized black women, Kelly's navigation of a post-title landscape where authenticity wars with accessibility. It wasn't just about a remix, it was a microcosm of the music world's eternal tug-of-war between preservation and progression, legacy and reinvention. And as Patti's heels clicked assertively toward the exit ramp, the audience held its collective breath, wondering if this walk-off was the end of an era or the spark for a reconciliation anthem yet to be written. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every micro-expression on Kelly's fascia: the flicker of hurt, the resolve to salvage. And in homes across America, viewers leaned closer to their screens, hearts pounding in sync with the unspoken rhythm of respect recalibrating in real time. With Patti's departure hanging in the air like an unresolved chord, the immediate aftermath unfolded in a blur of controlled chaos that backstage teams are trained for but never quite prepared to execute. Kelly, the consummate professional forged in the fires of live television, didn't miss a beat, or at least, she tried not to. Her face, a canvas of practiced poise, softened into a mask of understanding as she turned to the camera with that megawatt smile dialed up to 11. Wow, folks, that's Patti LaBelle for you, an unfiltered, unbreakable, and always keeping it 100. Let's give it up for the queen who just schooled us all on standing your ground. The audience, caught between shock and awe, erupted into a polite but thunderous applause, a mix of die-hard fans cheering Patti's exit as empowerment and others murmuring in sympathy for Kelly's unexpected solo act. Commercials rolled swiftly, buying precious minutes for the producers to huddle in a frenzy of whispers and frantic texts. Get her back a stat. Damage control. Spin it as passion, not beef. Kelly, you good? Talk to me. Meanwhile, offstage, Patti's entourage formed a protective phalanx, her personal assistant fanning her lightly with a script page while her manager dialed publicists on speed dial. Patti herself, far from fuming, settled into a director's chair in the green room with the grace of a monarch reclaiming her throne, sipping chamomile tea laced with honey, her vocal elixir, and muttering to her team, "That girl means well, but Lord, she needs to learn when to hush." Word spread like wildfire through the studio veins, from lighting text to makeup artists, each retelling adding layers of lore. Did you see her face? Ice Queen mode activated. Kelly's holding it together by a 3D. Props to her. The break ended too soon, and Kelly re-emerged for the ad-lib transition, her voice steady but laced with that authentic vulnerability that endears her to millions. Alright, y'all, before we dive into our next segment with the incredible Julian Works from Beat Street, let's just sigh. Conversations like that, they're why we do this. Real talk, real hearts, even when it gets a little spicy. Patti, if you're watching, and I know you area love you, mean it, and doors always open for round 2. Laughter bubbled up, tentative at first, then fuller, as Kelly masterfully steered the ship back to safe waters, introducing the non-profit leader with anecdotes about community beats mirroring musical rhythms. But the elephant in the room, or rather, the diva down the hall, loomed large, and social media was already a battlefield of hot takes. Twitter Zell it up with #Patti walks off trending within minutes, posts ranging from "Yes, Patti, tell em how you really feel," to "Kelly didn't deserve that shady miscommunication" much, memes proliferated, Patti's glare photoshopped onto historical paintings, Kelly's shocked face captioned "When you accidentally trigger a legend." TMZ dropped the first grainy clip, courtesy of an audience member sneaky phone vid, and suddenly, every news outlet from CNN to the local Philly rag was dissecting the drama, speculating on everything from hidden grudges to contractual clauses. Patti's camp, ever savvy, issued a preemptive statement via Instagram. "The Queen stands tall in her truth, grateful for the platform, but authenticity over everything." Buys in the oven. Stay tuned. Kelly's team, in turn, leaned into transparency, tweeting a behind-the-scenes pic of the two hugging pre-show with the caption, "Sisters in song, disagreements happen, love doesn't." Can't wait for the collab track. The internet, that voracious beast, devoured it all, with fan theories sprouting like weeds. Was it really about the remix, or a deeper riff on ageism in music? Did Kelly's evolution comment echo old wounds from Patti LaBelle group days? Pundits piled on, from Rolling Stone op-eds praising Patti's boundary setting to variety pieces lauding Kelly's recovery as masterclass in crisis PR. By evening's end, the clip had racked up 5 million views, spawning reaction videos from drag queens lip-syncing the takedown to therapists analyzing the power dynamics. In the eye of the storm, Kelly wrapped the show with her usual Kelly Oak flair, duetting a soulful "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" solo that felt like a nod to the mountain just climbed, her voice soaring with an extra layer of grit that hinted at the day's toll. As the credits rolled, the studio emptied slowly, crew exchanging war stories over craft services, while Patti slipped out a side door to her waiting SUV, waving regally to lingering fans who chanted her name like a mantra. The walk-off wasn't just an exit, it was a statement, a seismic shift that reminded everyone watching of from living rooms to luxury box sets that even in the glow of fame, egos clash, words wound, and walking away can be the ultimate power move. Yet, amid the melee, glimmers of grace emerged. Mutual respect unspoken but evident in the lack of outright vitriol, the quick pivots to positivity that define these women's brands. As night fell over Hollywood, the city of dreams buzzed with what ifs. Would apologies follow? Duets? Or would this simmer into the annals of showbiz skirmishes, another tale to tell at industry parties? One thing was certain, Patti and Kelly had gifted the world not just drama, but a masterclass in navigating the tightrope of public personas, where every step off script could lead to legend or lunacy. And as screens dimmed across the nation, the conversation continued, a digital dialogue on divas that proved their voices echo far beyond the stage. Fast forward through the 24-hour news cycle frenzy, and the ripples of this runway-worthy exit began to reshape narratives in ways that only true icons can orchestrate. Patti LaBelle, ever the phoenix, didn't retreat into silence. She amplified her stance with a masterstroke of media jiu-jitsu that turned potential backlash into a banner for empowerment. The very next morning, she popped up on The View, not as a contrite guest but as a conquering hero. Her entrance met with whoops and hugs from the co-hosts who treated her like royalty returned from exile. Sunny Hostin leaned in with wide eyes. "Patti, Spilla, did Kelly really go there with the compromise talk?" Patti chuckled, that rich, resonant laugh that could soundtrack a revival, and launched into a monologue that was equal parts memoir and manifesto. "Ladies, it's not about beef, it's about backbone. I've bent for no onion, not labels, not lovers, not even gravity at 81. Kelly's a gem, but that moment reminded me why I fight, for the next girl who thinks she has to dilute her fire to fit the frame." The audience ate it up, applause crashing like waves at a soul concert. And Whoopi Goldberg nodded sagely, sharing her own tales of walking off sets when scripts strayed from truth. From there, Patti's week became a whirlwind of vindication, a sold-out pipe pop-up in Midtown Manhattan where fans queued for blocks, not just for the flaky crusts but for selfies with the star who embodied unapologetic authenticity. She dropped a surprise remix of Irony Not Last of New Attitude on streaming platforms, laced with ad-libs that slyly nodded to the spat. Got a new attitude, Won't compromise my latitude. It shot to the top of Billboard's viral charts, proving that even at her age, Patti's relevance is as renewable as her vocal range. Kelly, meanwhile, channeled the chaos into creative fuel, her show the following day opening with a heartfelt monologue that peeled back the layers of her intent.